Hey, thanks for joining me on this tutorial. We're going to discuss today new home construction, and I'm going to talk about it from a standpoint of being in a normal kind of balanced market, not a seller's, not a buyer's, just kind of a balanced market. I figure that's the easiest way to kind of do this, and then that way you can build from that. But if nothing else, you'll get the basics down, and that's probably the most important thing to do. And depending on the market, it could be a great way to go to bring for your clients is to take them out and show them new construction, probably a lot quicker. In most cases, a lot easier. Just the fact that the sales consultant, the SC for the builder, will carry the load mostly for you. So not saying that to be lazy, but they're kind of the experts in the field, and they can take a lot of the legal onus off you, and even down to writing the contract. So I wouldn't discount that. There's some great builders out there, and hopefully you'll learn from this on how to find those great builders. So, but first you need to be able to find the builders. So I would start by the MLS. That's one great way of doing it. You could do something as simple as put the current year in and search for anything built in whatever year you're in. You could add, what I like to do is use the criteria called new construction. I mean, that's a great way, but I would put the year in. And the reason why I would put the year in new construction is there might be, the builder might have a 3-year-old model that no one's ever lived in, but it's still new construction. And if you put a year in there, you're going to miss it. So I think new construction is probably about your best field to use, and you can add it. If you don't see it in your criteria, if you look down at the bottom in the matrix, you'll see where you can add criteria. You click on it, and it'll give you a list of things you can pick from. Let's see. Another thing to do is look for homes under construction. That's another great way of doing it. A lot of times builders will have already done all the work, and they're building a spec home, and it's under construction, and they put it in MLS sometimes early, just from the standpoint they'd like to see if they could sell it before they finish it. It's kind of the idea behind that one. Another thing to do is use the field to be built. Now it is exactly what it says, to be built. Be careful there, because that means the house hasn't been built yet. It's going to be built. In some cases, it's not going to be built at all. It's known as a ghost spec, and they put them up there as an idea home, something that they are trying to put a design on a lot and see if they can get a bite, get a buyer to come look at it or come meet with them and build it. Or a lot of times they end up going in there and not even building that house. They have a plan for the lot. They decide they like the lot, and it kind of got the conversation going. So be very careful with to be builts. Don't sit there and schedule your clients to see a to be built. You'll drive out to a lot and it could be empty. So that could be quite embarrassing and waste your time when you could have been showing them something else, or meeting with another builder, or showing them another spec. So again, protect your time and be careful there. There's nothing else, call the builder up and ask them what their plans are. Sometimes they've got it going, and they forgot to change the criteria in the listing from to be built to under construction or whatever. So just call and check with them before you make that mistake. Another thing to do is find the builders' websites, get on them, make a list of them, follow them on Facebook and Instagram. Another thing is find a local publication. There's a lot of publications, most of them in the area have that, where builders put their spec homes or homes coming online, they're about to be finished in their subdivisions. They list them all out. So it could save a step because they're all in one publication. So again, as I said, most areas have that. I also try to develop good relationships with the builders, SCs, because they can, for example, tell you about the latest deals coming up, builder bonuses coming up, invite you to special events. If nothing else, it's just a great networking situation. But going back to the search criteria, don't be afraid to experiment with it. You're not going to break it, and just put in the different fields and see see what gives you the most houses that pop up when you're doing a search. Again, you're not going to break it. All right, as far as the builder models go, before going to it, real estate 101, you learn this in your classes. Make sure you have a buyer's representation, a BRA signed between you and your buyers. Don't waste your time and go out there. They're not going to sign that. As we discuss further, you'll see why that's important. So I would always try to visit the models with your clients. That's number one. Spec home, model home, try to do it. But if nothing else, give your clients your cards and have them at first contact give your card to whoever they're talking to, the SC, builder, or whoever, when they at first contact. And the reason why you want to do this, and this is where the BRA is important to have signed, because this gives your buyer an incentive to give your card out, is when you go in with them to the model for the first time, the builder always has you register your buyer with them. And they register you with the buyer. So if your buyers go out, like a lot of them will do, they'll sometimes find something the first weekend out, but they might go riding around after work sometime and go to a model that's open late and walk in, and somebody likes something, and the SC registers them, as having no agent, and then all of a sudden you pop up, you're not going to get paid. But how you avoid this is, again, have that BRA sign. The buyers will want to make sure you're registered. And the reason why is because if they don't, they could end up being the ones paying you with the builder wall. So, and oftentimes when that does happen, the builder usually caves and pays you because they certainly don't want to upset the buyer. So, but don't put yourself in that situation and bet on those odds. Another thing I'd be very careful about is, is doing CMAs. Your typical instinct when you're going out to look at existing properties, you do CMAs on all the things you're looking at just to see if they're priced right, particularly if they hone in on a house, you're going to do one. Well, a new construction, that's really kind of a waste of your time to do. I just wouldn't put my time and efforts in it. The numbers are going to get skewed with spec homes or to be built homes or custom built homes or homes built from scratch, whatever you want to call them. They're not going to be ever in the MLS. That's just not the way they do it. They get an order to build, they're not going to go through the trouble of putting in the MLS. So that, again, is going to waste time. It's going to skew numbers, it's going to cause confusions. You're not going to understand values. So I would not waste my time or your buyer's time with that. Only to say is, if you wanted to do it, I would just get a general idea of what things are pricing at. And you can do that looking at a publication. You can look at that, what things sold for in the MLS, but just be very careful doing that. It'll just give you a general idea. Spec homes, again, generally end up skewing up the numbers. So don't rely on that at all. All right, so at this point, we're going to assume that you have a BRA sign and you register your clients with the builder, and you want to show them spec homes, as a possibility before you start doing a to be built home. Spec homes, you get paid quicker. To be built homes, you're gonna a lot of times have to wait till the project's done, and that could be up to a year. But again, your client's best interest is always what you have to keep in mind. But I would always start out with the spec homes and see what's available. And before you do that, do some homework. Find out what the builder's standard specifications are. You can get that off their website, or call and get the SC to send it to you. I'll also understand, here's what's very important, understand what the warranty is that they offer. In Texas, by law, they at least have to give a 1-year warranty no matter what. but they no longer have to do a structural warranty. So find out what that is. Most people are expecting to get a structural warranty, and I've seen them get deep into contracts, houses under construction, only to find out later that they don't have that. They have to pay extra for that. They might even have to pay a monthly fee for that. So again, know that up front. Another important thing is on that structural warranty is to make sure that find out who's backing it. What is the insurer backing that program? There are a lot of builders out there that will offer your client a 10-year structural, but it's all on paper. It's all backed by them themselves. It's all relying on them doing the 10-year warranty. And if there's a foundation issue and they're out of business, your buyers are paying for that out of pocket, and no homeowner's warranty is going to pay for that. So understand what that warranty is and who's backing it. And I honestly would not do business with a builder unless they're obviously they have to do the 1-year warranty by law, but I would not do one that isn't offering a 10-year structural. I wouldn't do business with them. I wouldn't waste the time, energy taking my clients to take the chance of doing that. And if your clients like the builder and want to use them anyway, just make sure they're informed that, hey, they don't have a structural warranty, or the structural warranty is backed by them only. And so you're going to have to take the chance of whether they're going to be in business or not tomorrow. So again, do your homework, find out those things. Also, while you're talking to the SC or you're looking at the publication, find out what the specs are that they're offering out there. And again, use that local publication to help you do that. Builders, particularly big production builders, they build specs that they don't like sitting on. They load them up and they'll usually discount them, to get rid of them. So you may ask, well, then why would you build something like that? Well, they're going into a project and they've got to do a lot, what they call a takedown. Maybe every 60 days, they got to take down 10 lots, and they're in a 50 lot, 100 lot build out, or maybe they have to take them all down, depending again on the market conditions for them. If they want to get lots, they'll have to build specs. It forces them to build specs because they got to build themselves out of that deal. And a lot of times they'll do specs mainly just to create traffic. It's nothing more exciting when people come in to a subdivision and they see building going on. They feel like there's a lot going on. Worst thing that can happen is take them into a dead subdivision. Then they start questioning, hey, is this place got problems? Why is there nothing happening? So, or they'll do it to build on a difficult lot. Sometimes they'll have a really bad lot they got stuck with, but hey, let's just go on and get it out of the way. They might even take their hits on it. So, and then it could turn out to be a great lot, even a difficult lot. If the right plans on it and design for it could be a really cool situation. So again, don't rule out the specs before you go to do a dirt build. And when you do go to show a spec, try to show it without the SC or builder present if possible. Just to take the emotions out of it. And when your clients get there, if they're standing there and the SC standing there and all of a sudden they're placing furniture, oh, my armoire will fit here, or my dining set will work there, or that dining room is just the right size. Now all of a sudden they're hearing that, they're locking in. That helps them know how far to negotiate, because they'll be sitting there telling the builder, oh, they're replacing the furniture in the house. They're really like it. I think you can hold firm on your price. So, avoid that. You need to coach your clients not to show any emotion, just to walk around, look at things, and show no emotion at all. Be quiet. Don't comment. And so that's the best piece of advice I can give you on that, because I've seen it hurt negotiations. I've been on that other side. I've been the SC, and I watched for those things. So you don't want to hurt negotiate. Another thing, don't tell the SC what your client's price range is. if they kind of push you into something, then really say low, just set the expectations low so that you can try to go high on this thing. You start negotiating. So now you're in the spec home, and they're seeing it, and they decide, hey, we like this. This is something we need. A house. We need to lock something down. We want to move into it. It's done. Let's make an offer on it. It has everything we need. We can live with this. So instruct them to go on home, and then you start the dialogue with the SC, whether stopping by the model or call them up on the phone and tell them, hey, my clients, they're interested. It's a little bit higher than they were thinking about spending. I see it's priced at 600,000. We don't want to waste your time, our time. Do you think your builder would take something in the 500 range, low 500s? Say 500,000, 520, something like that. And then just get quiet and see what they say. And this is very common because when you're buying a spec, and you're going to make an offer on it. It usually starts off verbally because the SC is going to end up writing it on the builder's contract. I mean, you could go through all the trouble writing up a TREC contract on it, new home construction contract on it, and you'll just be wasting your time because the builder in the end is going to want it on his or hers contract, and they're not going to accept that. So you'll waste all your time, filling that out. So you made the offer, sit back, listen, see what they say. And if they kind of hesitate, hem-haw, or say, gee, I don't know, he might take it, or hey, I don't know if he'll take it that low, but I'm not afraid to ask. And those are some comments I used to make. So, when that's made, then hey, there's something here. They might come down on it. They may not come all the way down to 520, but at least we know we got some room to come off that 600. But if they sit there and quickly respond to you, hey, there's no way, they're not going to come off anything, or they're not going to come off 5,000, or hey, you know what the market is, they're not going to wheel and deal with you. So that'll just give you a great indication where they're at on the deal and where you're going to go with it. So if that happens, then you know where you stand. And as I mentioned earlier about the builder's contracts, I don't care what builder you go to, 99.9% of them are going to want to use their contract, and you'll just be wasting up your time, writing it up on the TREC, and let the SC do all the work for you. They have all the documents. They know how the builder wants it done. So don't be afraid of it, but you should read it. When they get it written up, they're going to send it to you to review, and both you and your client should read it. And it really surprises me how no one reads these contracts. They're very, very, very one-sided. So make sure you do read through it. Your clients have concerns. It's particularly with something legal, or a lot of questions you need to ask them to go consult an attorney. Don't you try to answer it, unless it's something like they go, hey, I don't see a closing date in here. Well, look at it together. And in most cases, if builders do have a closing date in there, they're going to be situated where they can extend it so they don't put themselves in jeopardy of breach of contract and all of a sudden having to refund a bunch of money. So they've got their bases covered because they're going to be concerned about supply, labor, market conditions, riots, war, who knows, could be coming out, and all of a sudden your buyers can back out and they're stuck with a house. So, again, don't be afraid of the contract. Understand they are going to be one-sided. Make sure your buyers understand that just about any builder they go to are going to be like that. They're going to be one-sided, and most are not going to negotiate on those points. So, again, read it. They don't like it. Their attorney, most attorneys will tell them to run. There's no attorney in their right minds are going to recommend a builder's contract. Just be quite frank, that happens all the time. So they're going to end up having to make up their mind whether they're going to trust the deal and move forward with the builder or not. And I'm going to tell you, a lot of builder contracts have no closing dates in them, so don't be surprised. Another thing that happens, or that's a fact, I should say, that you need to know is that builders in Texas are not licensed. They are not required to be licensed. I always, I always muse at the fact that the person that cuts your hair in Texas, that does your hair, cuts your hair, the state requires them to be licensed, but not the guy that or gal that's building the most important investment in your life, your home. I don't care what bracket you're in, you know, it's going to be a very important investment. So that's always amazed me. But the good news is the lender that's going to be used in the situation, whether by your buyer or by the builder, they know who the good builders are in the area. They know the financially stable builders in the area. They know the builders with a good reputation. So most of the time, they're going to know right up front. And if they don't, they're going to ask questions. They're going to start vetting. They're going to want to see the builders, want to examine their financials before they lend money to your client or to that builder to build the home. They're going to want to talk to vendors, their past vendors, their suppliers, even past customers. They're going to fully vet them out before they lend money. And it makes sense. If you're doing $1 million bill or heck, a $300,000 bill, you know, they're responsible for their shareholders and lending that money out. And they're just not going to lend it to anybody that puts a shingle up and said, hey, you know, hey, I'm a builder, and trust they know what they're doing. So that's a good thing to know. But then again, I would talk to the lender, just again, make sure, hey, y'all know this builder, or y'all are going to vet them out, right? So just they are probably, but just never hurts to make sure. And it just makes you look good to your client asking those kind of questions. They'll very much show your value to them when you ask questions like that. The other thing you can do is remember the Better Business Bureau, go to Yelp, go to your browser and do just a broad search on the builder's name to see what pops up there. Ask your peers in your Facebook forums or inter-office communications, about the builder, if you're unsure. So there are lots of ways to find them out, and just to vet them out and make sure that they're good at what they do, that they're in business for the long term, have a good warranty, that the warranty is backed by a third party, things like that. So another thing, moving on. So we're past the spec. Say that doesn't work out, you decide to do a dirt build or a custom build. Well, that's where you get in a position of less negotiation, particularly with custom, mid-sized to custom builders, small custom builders. It's going to be tough. They're not going to negotiate much on that. I mean, they might negotiate on the amount of profit they make, but they're not going to just sit there and build something for free or for practice or at a loss. So it's they're not going to just go build something to order for practice, for fun, so they are going to charge what they're going to charge your clients, and you've just got to determine whether that's a fair price or not. So that might be why you get bids from other builders than from just one. So the only other thing is that let's see, with production size builders, though, they do a to-be build or something like that. A lot of times they still offer what they call design center incentives, DC incentives. And depending on the market conditions, that could be nothing or 80,000 or 100,000, for you to spend their design center. But in a good market, if they're offering $40,000, $80,000 of DC incentives, I'd be real careful there, because the DC is a very high profit margin area for a builder. Their profit margins are anywhere from 30 to 50%. So you need to really be aware of that. So they're giving you $40,000. Well, I'd ask rate, and or maybe ask for 100 and see if you can get 80. But the more you ask, the better off your clients could be when it comes to spending in there. Because remember, they make a lot of money in that design cert, and that's where they make their high profit margins. But an idea, that I've learned is if you're dealing with a custom builder doing a custom design, and this might work on a big box builder, but for sure on a custom builder, is ask them to give your client a tour of the design center with your interior designer, and so that they can see when they're doing the tour what their standards are, because they may not like their level ones or level twos woods on wood flooring, and might say, hey, I don't like that, but I'll do I'm fine with level 3. Or countertops, I'm fine with level 1, but those, the cabinets, I want level 7. So, or stone, I don't like the level 1 stone. I'm going to go with a level 6. So at least if they go in there, they can see that the interior decorator can make those notes and let the builder know, or the SC know, so they can let the builder know, so they can price those things in. So when you're done with your plans, they can price those levels all in, so there aren't any surprises. They'll see a price. But the big thing here too is make sure your clients are reasonable when they do go in there. They're not pricing in everything in the kitchen sink in there. Just pricing what they know that they're going to have, what levels that they are going to accept. And the reason why I tell you that is because when the builder prices it in, they're going to price all those items in at their normal margins in the base price of their home. So it could save your client 30, 20, 30, 40% in markups by having the builder price it in at the base price. And not to mention, it helps you with your commission. But don't ever have a builder price a home at their standard, at their specifications, their standard features. That's the better word. Don't ever have them price it at the standard features, because that price will look great, look low. Then they get in that design center, all of a sudden they're spending $100,000 more. So try to avoid that. Let's see, on commissions, and this is another, we mentioned earlier about having them price everything in the base price that helps you on your commission. It's because builders are typically only going to pay you on the base price. So if they price everything in at their standard features, that's all you're going to get paid on. And then your client goes in and spends $100,000 more. Well, you just missed out on, $3,000. So in cases, so that's all the more reason and incentive to have them do it, so that at least you can get the most of those numbers into the base price. Your client saves money, you get more commission. And then also, when your client does go into the design center, it's going to be a faster process because they know what they want, which is going to make the builder happy. Things are going to go smoother. And then also, again, they'll save money. They might go in and spend 2.5% to 5% of the sales price, instead of going in and spending 10 to 15% of the sales price in the design center. So that's really a key little tip to know. Financing, again, just like getting the BRA signed, get your clients into a qualified with a lender, just so they have an idea. So you're not showing them something too high or too low, or they get these higher expectations and get excited, and they look like they want to buy a $600,000 house, and all they can afford is a $350,000 house. Now you've just deflated them. So we need to set that expectations on the front end, get that done. But at the same time, don't be afraid to use the builder's lender. That can be advantageous for your client. Just for the fact that if your builder is using a lender, a lot of times they have more control of them. they can, they can push the lender more to get deals done on time, because that builder, when they're done, they want that deal closed. They want it done. And I've seen where people use outside lenders who aren't going to make the closing. The builder gets the house done. Now it's sitting there weeks. And there's a point in time where the builder can turn to your client and say, all right, it's been a week and you haven't closed. I'm going to have to start charging you a per diem price. So you need to avoid that. Don't be afraid to use their lender. A lot of times they'll give you incentives to use their lender, particularly the big box builders. They might pay for some closing costs, or they might pay for the title policy. And again, whatever, it depends on what the market conditions are. But as a rule, builders aren't going to pay title policy. That usually falls on the buyer to do it. But they might on a spec home. Again, just depends on the market too. But most aren't going to do that. They're not going to go build a custom house and then pay for your title policy, your client's title policy. Earnest money, to kind of know what to expect there. Ask the SC what they expect. Some may ask for a $5,000 earnest money deposit, and then they might ask for a $10,000 non-refundable deposit on the sales price at contract. And some will break that up. Some will say 5% at contract and 5% before they start. So you'll see that more on the mid-sized to smaller custom builders. Bigger production builders are more likely to take 1% to 2% earnest money. That's all they'll take. But now, if you make a big selection and you say you spend $100,000 in their DC, they may ask for a 50% non-refundable deposit on that just to cover themselves. In case you do bolt, all they'll owe you back is their earnest money, and they'll keep, that $50,000 that they got from you on upgrades. So I think the most important things you need to know as much upfront as possible on this, and prepare your buyers, because the more you know upfront and prepare them for, leads to a better surprise-free process. So, and then again, it makes you a valuable asset. Other tips, going back to the issue of builders that don't have license, there are a few trades that have to. Your HVAC, which are your AC plumbers, and AC people that put in the air conditioning and heating, furnace, your plumbers, your electricians, maybe your low voltage, your alarm people, have to be licensed, and they're the only ones. Anyone that touches gas or pipes or electrical wires or any kind, air conditioning, they have to be licensed. Other than that, that's it. The foundation company, the framing company, the roofing company, none of those are licensed, nor are they required to be licensed. But a silver lining, this is most HOA and cities do require that that the foundation and the framing have to have a engineered stamp, have to be inspected by the engineer, have to be designed by an engineer. So that's a good thing, because that's a very major component being done. So even though they're not licensed, it will be inspected by engineers, inspected and designed by engineers. So but that's something you should know too, because you can get in some outlying areas. And I've seen builders go, "Oh, they're not requiring an engineer." You could be in on acreage somewhere that has no HOA, no city, no inspections, and they'll just do a standard design. So if nothing else, make sure that there is that the foundation and the framing, it has to be engineered. Another thing I would suggest in those cases, again, particularly in areas where they're not requiring inspections, or even in areas that require inspections, I'd still do this. If the builder has no kind of third-party license inspector coming in other than the city, then I would suggest to your buyer they hire one. That they come in at different phases. They come in at the foundation. They come in and look at the framing. They come in and look at the insulation. pre-sheetrock. They come in and when the house is done and they do the final inspection on that. You know, I'd at least do that. That just again protects your clients, protects the builder, protects you. And quite frankly, I would not do business with a builder that will not let you bring in a third party inspector. I would just rule them out immediately. If they can't understand the value of having a third party come in, which could ultimately end up protecting them, then you don't need to be doing business with them. And I'd stay away from them. Let's see. If the builder does agree to this, which most of them probably will, respect them too. Just don't see that the framings, you think it's done, and tell your buyers, all right, it's time to send out the inspector. You know, give them time to tell you when it's ready. Most of the time, they're going to want you to get them in there when they've got all the mechanicals done, all the wiring done, all the plumbing done, and the framer's gone in and punched things out, and they might have even had the city inspector run through it. Or if they hire their own third-party inspector, they might have the city inspector, their own third-party inspector come in, maybe even their engineer go through. At least let them do all that, and then let them say, all right, you can bring your inspector. You know, and it just makes the process better for them. Most of the time, your guy goes in, it's just a final set of eyes on it to help catch things, but they shouldn't have a big list at that point. And so again, respect your builder and have them tell you when to send the third party inspector in. Now, if you find out that the builder is already doing this inspection at all these phases, then I would still have your client then, and it saves them money just to hire an inspector to come in at the final stages. Even if the builder has one, I'd still have that third party inspector go in there that represents your buyers at the final. Even new home, yes, even new home, they need to do that because they can go in, look at the finished product, they can test the appliances, make sure they're not defective. They can inspect the attics. They can look at the rafters in the attics. And you'd be surprised how many times they'll find a broken rafter that needs to be fixed, even in a new house. That maybe it happened when the roof was being put on and someone dropped a bundle of shingles or heavy tile and it busted a rafter. So it's always worth they go in there and look at the place with their flashlights. They look at the HVAC. They look at the plumbing. You know, they look at things like in front of the furnace that nothing's obstructed, which the inspector should have caught, but you never know. They can miss things. Is the adequate flooring in there? They look at the roof shingles. They look at see if the flashing's done right. They also go out and check the ground drainage and many other things before your buyers close on it. So again, they'll usually the best time to have them out is when you're doing the final walkthrough of the builder, or I should say the pre final walkthrough where they're making the list and they're actually demonstrating the home to them. Usually that's a good time to have them go by. And the builder, again, just ask the builder. So thank you for joining me this. I hope that you got something out of this, and I should have some transcripts available for you to have and review. But again, I just appreciate you taking your time to listen to me, and more to come. Thank you.